So we have with us our session expert for afternoon session, Dr. Ashwini Sharma. Hello, Dr. Ashwini Sharma.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. So, dear participants, we are honored that today we have with us Dr. Ashwini Sharma, and he's from IIT Ropar. And I will give you a brief introduction about him. Dr. Ashwini Sharma is currently working as assistant professor at the Indian Institute of Technology, Ropar, India since July 2018. He received his PhD from the University of Deusto, Bilbao, Spain in the year 2015 and master's degree in technology and communication system from ETSIT Technical University of Madrid, Spain in 2013. He was a visiting training fellow at the University of Kent, Canterbury, UK during May to August 2014 and a junior research fellow at IIT New Delhi, India 2010 to 11. His current research includes exploiting field forming techniques in antenna design for wireless power transmission, IoT and 5G. So we are again having a young, vibrant, dynamic person as our resource person. So definitely you will be benefited by his session. He has got a diverse experience from IIT Delhi to IIT Ropar and from Spain. So definitely I think the participants are going to be benefited by his session. So we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, to this FDP. And thank you for accepting our invitation. So it is over to you, sir. You can use, I have given you the rights to share your screen.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. So let me share the screen, then we'll begin. So is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is perfectly visible.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can continue, sir.
All right. All right, so welcome to this afternoon session of the FDP Modern Antenna Technologies for Futuristic Wireless Communication Systems. And I'm sure that you have in the already happened sessions, you enjoyed a lot and got very, you can say, useful information regarding the antenna design technologies to be used for futuristic wireless communication systems. And probably this lecture today, whose title is Antenna Technology to Wirelessly Power the Next Generation Communication Devices. That is kind of backing you see, the technologies which you have learned till now in the FDP sessions from the perspective of the wireless powering technologies and the particularly antenna designs to realize those WPT applications, right? So this, I hope this is a kind of an interesting lecture for you, and you should be able to relate the information which is going to be shown here with the already you have taken certain sessions on this FDP. So let us begin this lecture. So let us see what is the learning objectives we can target from this particular lecture here. So objectives are to know the current application areas for research in antenna engineering in general. And then we are going to categorize the different applications, and then we can have another objective to introduce the WPT wireless power transmission systems, particularly in the near field zone of the antenna. Okay, then next learning objective is to know the misalignment problem and its cause in the near field WPT system. It is very challenging and big problem with this kind of WPT system that we are going to have a look. Then fourth objective is to know the is to learn field forming technique in particular to address misaligned DLPT systems. Then fifth objective is to learn a new concept called as 3D polarization. This particular lecture. Okay, so the content first we'll see certain introduction, then we can identify and current antenna research areas from two different perspectives. One is the utility perspective, other is the field region perspective. Then we can see antenna research area categorization, and we can see then near field WPT wireless power transmission. We can define what is these kind of systems and the most suitable antennas which are used for these WPT applications. We can define the misalignment problem here, which is the most important research topic nowadays in this particular field of research. And then to mitigate or to, you can say, address the problem, to mitigate the effect of misalignment, we can see one of the technique is the magnetic field forming technique, right? Then misalignment problem in WPT system, we can see certain designs which can give the solution to address the misalignment problem. And we can see one of the newly developed technique called as 3D polarization, which is a kind of a new concept in the theory of antenna polarization. And the target of this lecture is to introduce the audience about this new technique of 3D polarization to mitigate angular misalignment. Okay, then the session will be concluded. So here is the start of the lecture. So we can begin understanding the antenna uses from the system perspective first. Like we have to be very much sure the use of the antenna initially. So as the need of the user mobility and communication technology advancement, it rises. It demands for the wireless transmission of the power as well as the information, right, between the two different devices. And to realize this transfer of the information and the data between the two devices, one called as a transmitter, other can be designated as a receiver, and between them exchange of information and power is going to happen. And if you want to realize this link in the wireless domain or wirelessly to achieve the mobility feature, right, then you know very well the antenna plays a very important role, a crucial role here in the entire system. It is a critical entity here, which is the end entity of the system before the wave actually propagates in the media. And using the antenna or a good antenna designs, you are able to control the characteristic of the transmitted signals and the received signals as well, to gain in terms of quality of reception, right, of the data as well as power, right? So looking at that, once we have defined the need of the antenna system in the wireless communication system, we can see that the whole communication system at the transmitter side as well as including the receiver side, we can divide into these you can say stages. So where at the transmitter side you begin with from the top, from the source to information, then at the receiver side the end entity is the sink, which is the, you can say, receiver of the information. So source of information at the transmitter will generate the suitable information to be transmitted or a requirement for the transmission of the power, right? Then that signal or whatever the information will be processed right in the digital domain, and then can be converted into analog domain for baseband processing. Then you may have to convert it into intermediate frequency and then convert it to radio frequency, make the signal suitable for transmission into the media, wireless media, right? So you may require RF, IF, and baseband circuitry and devices in this particular stage. And these, up to this point, we call it as a RF transmitter, this particular stage. After that, when the signal is ready with amplification, it is ready to be dispatched in the media. We require a means for the transmission, right? So what is that mean? So the mean to transmit or radiate the information in the channel or radiate the signal in the channel is called the antenna, and this means of receiving the same signal is also the antenna. So based on the is it being used as a transmitter or the receiver? We can categorize it as a transmitting antenna, or we can say it as a receiving antenna, right? And this RF signal energy is sent into the space by the transmitting antenna. So that space in the wireless domain is called as a channel, right? So here, as an antenna engineer, because there is a difference when you work as a communication engineer, you may take the antenna as a part of the channel. But the moment you are coming down to the design of the antennas, then you're working as an antenna engineer, antenna researcher. Then in your case, the antenna is a part of the system, and then channel is after the, it is the, you can say the media which is coming after the antenna. The moment the wave is coming from the antenna, then the channel is right most of the time. So this RF signal is then picked by the picked from the space to by the receiving antenna, and can be processed analogously as the transmitter using some RF IF baseband circuitry and devices, and then some A to D converter signal processing algorithms can be imposed to improve the quality and do some processing on the information. And then sync is now able to digest the information that is designated for that particular sync, right? So what we can see that in general, if you see the throughout the entire communication system, wireless communication system, so the RF transmitters and receiver is the important part here, which is containing RF circuitry devices, IF circuitry devices, as I mentioned, and analog baseband circuitry and devices. But at the same time, the antenna is a different entity, which is a critical entity, you can say, because after that there is no such a hardware which is existing, right? Signal will be freely traveling in the channel, and you don't have a control on the travel of that signal anymore, right? So up to the point of antenna entity, you are able to control certain characteristic in the way the radiation will occur. You are able to control the radiation pattern. You are able to control, you can say, the characteristic of the signal. But the moment it is dispatched by the antenna, it leaves the antenna structure, then the signal moves freely, right? So that's why I'm saying that the antenna is really a very critical entity here for deciding the performance of the communication system in terms of communication quality, right? So the moment we have seen the need of antenna, and as well as we have we are motivated now how important is the antenna is, let us see certain standard definition of antenna here. So IEEE standard definition is available in the literature. You can see they define the antenna as a means for radiating or receiving radio waves, right? So anything which can radiate or receive radio waves is called as, can be called as antenna from IEEE standard definition of antenna. Or you can say some standard books may also define the antenna in the with the second definition, that is antenna can be thought of as a transducer that converts radio waves into electrical currents and voltages and vice versa, right? So that is also a valid definition. It is a kind of similar definition to the IEEE standard antenna definition, which is defining it as a radiating element. So here also you want to call, or you mean by stating it is a transducer between the electrical waves and the radio waves, that you are defining a structure which can radiate, right? But we should ask one good question here, that anything which can radiate, can it be called as an antenna or a good antenna type? So what I believe is we need to add certain keywords the moment we want to define antenna as such for the design engineers, right? So when you are working as an antenna engineer, then maybe for the layman, these definitions are okay. IEEE standard definition or the definition number 2 provided in the books may be okay. But from the antenna research point of view, you need to understand certain keywords which are really very important the moment you decide to design a good antenna, right? Right? So looking at that, we can again define the antenna as a device designed to radiate or receive electromagnetic energy. So up to this point, the definition is same as the two initial definitions. So we are also calling the antenna a device which can radiate or receive EM waves, right? So that is the thing. But the difference here is there are two keywords which we have added. One is transmit or radiate the electromagnetic energy efficiently in a prescribed manner. So there are two keywords. One is efficiently. That means it is not like any efficiency it can have, right? Or in a random direction it is transmitting without caring about the usefulness of the transmitted signal, right? So that should not be there. So otherwise it is not a designed antenna, right? It is any radiating structure in general, right? So efficiently is the keyword, like it should be efficient. That's why it will be called as a good antenna. And the second is the prescribed manner, means there is a particular specification that is demanded, and based on that specification only the antenna should radiate. If it is demanded to not radiate in the through the back lobe or backside, then we have to design the antenna which will really not radiate in the backside, right? Or if you want to achieve a beam width of, let's say, 20 degree, 30 degree, then it should have the beam width of 20 degree, 30 degree, and then only we can say that it is radiating in a prescribed manner, and we can say this is a good antenna, right? So looking at these keywords, now we can see that the work by the antenna designer is really very critical. So there are certain, you can say, challenges posed by these particular keywords, efficiency and the prescribed manner. So the moment it is defined, maybe these prescribed manner specifications are really very stringent, and with these stringent specification, one may not be able to design this critical antenna, right? So we can say that these prescribed, you can say, already existing specification which is provided by the users, okay, those are really, you can say, posing a challenge for the antenna designers, okay. Now let us see that can we identify antenna research area based on different aspects here. So I'm dividing that, or I'm going to show through this lecture to the audience that we can see the two different perspectives here to identify the antenna research area. So one is the utility of the antenna. So based on the utility, depending on the objective of the employment of the antenna, its application can be categorized, right? So you need to first ask the question that in which application your antenna is going to be used, right? So depending on that application or utility, we can bifurcate the antenna utility in two parts. One is the wireless power transfer, means you need to ask the question that are you going to use this antenna type which you are going to design for the wireless power transmission only, or you want to use it for the wireless data transfer, right? So based on the utility, like how you are going to use this antenna, we can divide into two different applications. One is the wireless power transmission, other is the wireless data transmission. And there may be other hybrid utility also where you are interested in not only the data, but also power. So you can simultaneously transfer data as well as power. But for now, I'm skipping that. And then just for simplicity, I'm dividing into two utilities. So WPT applications and WDT applications. Now next is based on the region, also we can have the applications divided into two parts, right? So we can, before going to that, we can see one fundamental thing here, that space around the antenna can be divided into certain regions, right? For example, in this figure, you can say in the left bottom of the figure, there is an antenna which is being planted, right, of a dimension capital D, right? Then the moment it is going to radiate the energy, the moment you are exciting this antenna, it will create certain distribution of the field in the space around it, right? So that space can be divided based on the, you can say, this theory is very well known in very standard books. One may go and see that the space around the antenna can be divided into, in general, two parts. One is the near field and the far field, where the far field actually is the distance or the region which are electrically far from the antenna, and then near field is the region which is electrically close to the antenna. And approximation you can apply, and then you can see the boundaries of or you can say the boundaries to distinguish these field region, where the near field and the far field can be divided by the boundary 2d square by lambda. So when you move away from the antenna, and when you are more than distance away from the antenna by 2d square by lambda, then you can call that you are located in the far field of the antenna, right? And if you are lesser than that, then you are located in the near field of the antenna. And near field is also can be divided into two parts: reactive near field and the radiating near field, based on in what kind of energy which is dominating into the region surrounding the antenna, and the boundary between these two is also standard, having the standard form like given in this photo, right? So what we can see that the surrounding, the space surrounding the antenna can be divided in general into two parts: near field and the far field, right? So based on that also we can divide the applications of the antenna based on the field region around the antenna. We can bifurcate antenna region into two: near field and the far field. And the moment you can divide the region around the antenna into two, then the applications are accordingly divided. So we can have near field applications and then we can have far field applications. So what is the meaning of near field application? That the transmitter and the receiver are placed close to each other such that they are lying into the near field region, right, of the antenna of each other, right? So antennas working in the near field zone, if that is the case for your application, then the application is called as a near field. And when the antennas are working in the far field zone of each other, then we call those sort of applications as far field applications. So based on the region or field region around the antenna also, we can divide or bifurcate the antenna utilization or the antenna application into two: near field and the far field. So now once we know that we can divide the antenna applications based on the utility, WPT and WGT applications. So, or we can also divide based on the field region. We can divide into near field application and far field application. So now what we can see is after this bifurcation, we can see the antenna research areas can be broadly classified into four different categories like this. So the first here is the near field wireless power transfer. What does it mean? Near field means the transmitter and the receiver, they are closely located. They are working in the near field zone of each other. And from the utility perspective, you are most interested in transfer of the power, not the data. So near field NF and WPT, this is the particular research area one may focus on when try to design the antenna. And based on this category or this particular category, we can have these applications applied. For instance, for the near field WPT application, this is the, you can say, wireless power transmission to the LED screen, which is going to happen, or wireless power charging of the mobile devices. So this is the wireless charging pad to transfer the power to these devices. You may charge the electric vehicle also wirelessly. So there is a wireless charging pad which is laid on the road, and then there is a receiver at the chassis or the bottom of the vehicle, and then there is a, you can say, transfer of the energy from the port to the from the pad, transmitting pad, to the receiver in the car. So we can say, and another application in the biomedical, there is a we can say video endoscopy capsule. This is the wireless endoscopy capsule which patients can swallow, and then it can capture the video inside the body and transmit outside. However, to function this pill, you can say, it requires power. So it is possible that you transmit the power from outside the body to the capsule which is lying inside the body, right? That is also one of the possibility. Or you can have a smart, you can say, experimental arena here as shown in the bottom figure, where a mice is being tested, and the data, or you can say one data collection unit is placed at the head of the mice, and then it requires certain power for functioning, and you are transmitting the power from this by exciting the cage which is lying like this, right? So this cage is working like a transmitter, and the receiver is placed at the head of the mice. So what we can see from these all applications here, which are showcased as in the photographs, the transmitter, the main, you can say, utility is transmitting the power. So what we are most interested in, the transmitting of the power to function these devices, right? And the second part is the transmitter and the receiver, they are lying in the near field of each other. So what we can see that this is the application. We can say this application designate as near field WPT application, right? Or second category is that you are still in the near field, means transmitter and the receiver, they are in the working in the near field, but now your interest is to transmit the data rather than power. So we can call it as a near field wireless data transfer. Okay, so near field WDT application rather. And under this category, we can have applications like RFID, near field RFID, like smart card, metro cards, access cards, these sort of RFID applications where the low frequency near field coupling is being used. Those are working, these are working under the category of near field WDT applications. So in the RFID, you have a RFID reader antenna, and then you have a RFID tag, and both are coupled together and transfer the data, right? Or you can have NFC, near field communication, as the name is already suggesting, it is a near field, and C is the communication. So this is justifying the category, particular category, NFDWT, right? NFC is popular, everybody knows it. Then you may have medical implantation where the transmitter is going to collect the data from the implanted devices inside the body. So inside the body, there may be certain implanted devices that including sensors, which are capturing the data, and then that data has to be transmitted from inside the body to the outside, and there should be a wireless link, right? Wired communication is not possible, so wireless is the best idea. But here the transmitter and the receiver, they are working in the near field, so we are calling it as a near field wireless data transfer systems, right? Then third category is the far field wireless power transfer, where what is happening, your utility is the power transmission, means you are interested to transfer the power in space from one point to the other. For instance, in this smart home application where the different appliances for functioning require certain power, right? Maybe they rely on the battery, but charging the battery again and again is again a big challenge. So to do that, to realize that a wireless power transmitter may be put there, and that transmitter can transmit certain amount of information, power, certain amount of power to these devices so that their battery life increases. However, the distance between the transmitter and the receiver is in the far field zone, right? So in the far field, that means you are radiating, you are actually radiating the energy, right? So that the other devices can harvest the RF energy which is available, right? Maybe they harvest from the ambient, and also they may harvest from the a dedicated source. That is another issue. But because we can see the distance between the transmitter receiver, they may lie in the far field zone of each other. So we can call it as a far field, and the application is WPT, right? Similarly, there may be certain sensors you can deploy in the smart agriculture application or smart city applications, very small sensors, which they do not require that much high power for functioning. Even some of the sensor may work passively without any battery. In that case, they may harvest the energy from the radiating base stations deployed for the cellular communication. That is also possibility. So these sort of things are coming under the category of far field WPT, right? And the last category is the far field wireless data transfer. That means you are most interested in transmitting the data only. However, the transmitter and the receiver, they lie in the far field zone of each other. I mean, they lie physically also very far from each other. So what we can see that all the legacy communication system like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, satellite, microwave links, radio broadcasting, TV broadcasting, so any kind of communication system you can think of right now in today's scenario, they all are working under the fourth category of far field WDT systems, right? And also the upcoming technologies or the futuristic ones also, like IoT, Internet of Things, where you want to provide the wireless connectivity to all the things available everywhere in the homes or city. There you want to provide internet connectivity to the devices, right? Internet connectivity means you want to transmit the data from and to the things here. So that requires a wireless connection, and that comes under the category of far field WDT system. Also the 5G technology, they all are working under the, or can be categorized and placed under the fourth category of far field WDT. So in general, as a summary, what we can see that all these applications which are available in the market, or whatever the application which is demanded in future, they can be categorized and placed under one of these categories. And why to divide under these four categories? Because the you can say the decision on the good antenna types will be based upon this category only. So it is possible, or it is true, that the antenna which is best suitable for one of the application, for instance, this mobile charging pad, there is a transmitter. So whatever the antenna you are utilizing here in the charging pad, is not a good idea to use it for, let's say, Wi-Fi transmitter or Bluetooth transmitter or even IoT or 5G. So that is the possibility. So that's why we have to categorize, and accordingly we can identify the antenna research areas based on the targeted applications, right? Okay, so once we have divided it, we can see for the antenna designers, these are the keynotes for the antenna selection and the design, right? So once the application is decided, we can go for selection of the antenna, right? That what kind of antenna that has to be used for these particular application. But that choice of antenna selection, right, will be depending on these points that we are going to see in this particular slide, right? So selection depends on the region and the range, right? So we have already divided the application into two different systems. One is the near field and the far field. So based on near field or the far field applications, we have to choose the particular antenna type. Also based on the utility and the objective. So are you going to only transmit the power? Then a certain particular kind of antenna is more suitable as compared to if you are interested in only data transmission. Or if you are interested in only both hybrid mode, power and data transfer, then maybe a third kind of different antenna is best suitable. So choice of that antenna depends on not only the region or range division, but also utility and objective. And another point here is, as we know that the exchange of power and information is feasible only when the transmitter and the receiver, they are tuned at a particular common frequency of operation. So frequency of operation is another, you can say, the point, right, which has to be taken care before you go for a selection of the antenna, right? So this choice of frequency of operation, that depends on the application type and range. It depends on the device size and also system surrounding and all. Everything together will be forcing you to decide upon the particular or use a particular kind of frequency of operation, right? Okay, so according to the chosen frequency, right, the dimension and the kind of antenna used can be determined. Okay, once the frequency is fixed, then only you can go for estimation of the dimension of the antenna or the kind of antenna to be utilized based on the frequency operation. So what we have learned as a keynotes here, that when you are going to go for selecting the antenna type or selecting a good antenna for the design, then you have to choose between the operating frequency. Then you have to choose the kind of antenna to be selected. Then you have to choose based on the working field region. And then also you have to choose based on the utility objective, like are you going to use WPT or WDT or both hybrid mode. So these all things, they are somewhat interconnected. So they are not independent to each other, right? And they has to be decided cautiously for the targeted application. So it is not like randomly you can select any frequency that will work for the near field, or randomly you select a particular kind of antenna that can work in the near field. It is not like that. So so these all things are related. So the moral of the story here is that you have to together look at all these keynotes here, and then you can go for an optimal selection of the antenna type and the design. Okay. Now, once you have selected the application, then these applications can fall under these popular research areas in the antenna designs. So one can be the far field applications like smart mobility, intelligent transportation system, or IoT or 5G, which are hot research topics nowadays. Or they can fall into the near field applications such as wireless power transmission. Then other applications like near field focusing for the medical purpose, right? Hyperthermia applications, or maybe near field localization of biomedical devices or any other devices, right? Those sort of applications, they fall in the near field. We can have a deeper look into the near field applications, right, after this slide. But first, let us get more motivation for the need of the good antenna design in these popular research areas, right? So what we can see nowadays, these are the keywords which are everybody is talking about, IoT and 5G. So why it is important? Because if you want to target a smart living of the people beyond 2020, so now, because now already we are getting delayed, so rather than I should say 2025, beyond that, if you want to target smart living of the people. It requires what smart city application. For instance, you have to realize smart homes, then you have to realize smart transportation, smart grid, driverless vehicles, mobile robots, and then many you can say other applications like smart health, etc. So the moment you are able to realize all these, smart agriculture included, all these smart applications, then only the smart living of the people beyond the 2025 can be realized, right? So what we can see that the traditional communication network until today, for instance, up to 4G, currently we are using, right? If you use that 4G to connect all these devices to realize all these smart applications, then what is happening? We can connect only a few mobile devices and few other devices, right? So the traditional communication network are not suitable to provide us that much of the capacity or that much of the volume or density of the network. Then what we need to use and evolve the technology for a smart, seamless, and steady network, right? Especially when you are talking about prospective IoT, where millions and billions of devices are going to be connected, right? So to realize that this traditional communication network will fail, they are not suitable. So what we need is we need to establish very efficient, reliable, and in-time communications between not only the smartphones but different sensors only, right? In-house, on-body, on infrastructure. These all sensors and devices which are deployed to realize these smart applications. Those has to be connected, right? So volume is very large. So for that volume, what we can say, what is the compatible technology which can support these sort of wireless communication links is the emerging 5G mobile communication network that can provide or increase the data rate, that can reduce the end-to-end latency and improve the coverage. Then because these are the features promised by the 5G communication systems, what we can conclude here that this is the suitable communication technology or network that can meet our requirement for the future IoT devices, right? Connectivity. So what we can see that this 5G wireless technology that will serve as an enabler for to realize these all smart technology, smart applications which you are considering as a very essential applications beyond 2025 for smart living of the people. So here in the photographs, you can easily see there are a lot of devices or sensors that are required to be placed at various positions or various, you can say, objects, right? Including not only the smartphone, but your refrigerator, air conditioner, even your lights or your cameras working, and then laptops, fans, washing machines, everything requires, you can say, connectivity of different sensors and the networks. In the smart transportation also, smart vehicles, driverless vehicles, even vehicle to vehicle communication to be realized, vehicle to infrastructure communication to be realized, then vehicle to passenger pedestrian communication is to be realized. And not only the traditional vehicles which are there in the smart vehicle application, but some the advanced vehicles like these shown in the photo can be there to realize the smart mobility application, and those are also to be connected with the smartly connected with the internet, right? Similarly, we can say for the smart agriculture, we can have a drones, right, to assist us in the smart farming, right, for everything. Smart grid application will also require sensors, communications, then biomedical application where the human will be, you can say, on body you can put a smart watch and some other sensors to sense different physiological data and to be communicated to the server and so on. So what we can see here, there are a lot of objects, lot of devices, okay, and those devices are mobile. For instance, this drone, they have to move. If they want to assist in the smart agriculture, they have to move, right? They cannot stay at a same place always. Similarly, vehicles has to move. Similarly, mobile devices, they are already mobile. That's why we are calling them mobile. But the things are what I mean here, that along with the static environment, mostly we are having dynamic environment. And then whenever the dynamic environment is there, the objects on which you want to communicate, those are moving. Like drone is moving, and then other things. Even you, when you place the sensor on the human, Then once the human moves, the sensors along with the human moves, right? So there's a mobility which is involved. And what we can see, when the devices are mobile, then there is a big problem with the devices. What is the problem? So maybe from the communication point of view, 5G wireless technology can handle that sort of mobility, right? Very high speed mobility, that is also possible to be handled by 5G wireless communication. But what I'm trying to say here in this particular lecture is that we have a different problem here, and that problem name is the power, right? So how to power these devices which are mobile, that is a big concern. Even what we can see, the smartphone which we are carrying, okay, that is also, we are very irritated multiple times, many times, like we charge it whole night, and then we can see after usage of 2 hours the battery drains, right? So what we can see, we get more irritated by the battery problem rather than connectivity. If connectivity is not there, we can plan for a, you can say, go out with our friends, right, and to relax. But if battery is not there, definitely we are going to get irritated. So what I'm trying to prove here is that not only the data, which is very important for the next generation of communication system, but to realize a good self-sustainable communication network, IoT system, you require, or you need to fulfill the power requirements for the wireless devices. So one question we can ask, that how to do that? So obviously these all devices, they may be carrying a particular a battery along with them to cater the need for the power, but that battery will also require the recharging or replacement. For instance, I will give you a very good example where that will justify the need of the power delivery. In the, you can imagine the application of let's say implanted devices. So very critical devices implanted inside the body of a patient, let's say, and that device requires certain power for functioning. So what is happening, that so that device has a limited power, because working on a battery will lose the power as the processing is going to be done. After certain days, the battery will be drained. So what is the chance for us for that device to keep functioning? The only chance is that patient has to go to operation and take out the we have to take out the implanted device and change its battery and put it back, right? So this is sort of looks like a very impossible task for the patients, especially for the patients which are suffering from you can say sugar disease, where you cannot operate the you can say patients again and again and implant the device, right? So what we can see here, that to realize a self-sustainable and a good IoT system, the power is a important thing. And this is really very important when the IoT device or device is placed in a very critical situation, a critical position, where accessing its battery or recharging it is really very challenging task, right? So in that case, the power requirement has to be fulfilled, and that poses a big challenge for the engineers, right? So question you can ask is how can we cater that need, right? So one important, you can say, research topic which is very uh, hot nowadays in the research domain is the energy harvesting. Everybody is talking about that if energy is freely available somewhere, why don't you harvest it, right? So let us have a look at it, this particular aspect, to cater the need or to support, you can say, the power requirement of the devices. Okay, so mostly I will be talking about the wireless power delivery in the RF domain. You may have solar power and other wind power, other energy harvesting things, but here, because we are talking about the RF antennas, we can think in terms of RF energy harvesting only, right? So what is the case is, wirelessly we need to deliver the power, because once the moment you deliver the power wirelessly, then the challenges which I have listed before, you can cater them. Like for the implanted devices, if you are able to transfer the power from outside the body and charge your implanted devices lying inside the body, then this is a very great idea, because the patient need not to go for surgery again and again, right? Or even for the highly mobile things, like you would like to charge your mobile devices on a wireless pad rather than connecting it with a cord, because we always struggle with a lot of cords. If there are 5 mobiles in a house, then there are 5 cords to charge these all mobiles. Then you have a different other cords, like for powering your laptop, you have to connect another cord. Then to power everything, you require a cord. So what you can see, that in your house, when you enter, there are wires on the wall, there are wires everywhere, Then if there is a mouse in the house, it will bite the wire and destroy it. Again, there is another headache. So what we can see here, if we are able to replace the transmission of the power, right, with a wireless power transfer system, then I think it is going to be a great help and will be an interesting idea, right? So the moment we understand that the need for the wireless power delivery, so in this particular case of the IoT devices to power up the next generation communication devices, uh, we require a special kind of WPT system, right? So let us have a look at it. So wireless power delivery along with the data communication, which is required to implement self-sustainable applications, and that actually coming under the 5G framework. The reason is because 5G promises to connect or provide the connectivity with so many devices, but power requirement of these so many devices is really very critical thing. So 5G framework also has to address the power requirement, right? So that's why it is coming under the category of 5G. So to relax the need for battery, so sometimes it is possible that whatever energy you are harvesting, that is self-sufficient for functioning that particular device. So in that case, you may get rid of the battery even, right? Like smart tagging, RFID application. So in RFID application, the tags, passive tags, like which are placed in your FASTag application in your vehicles, like at the toll when your vehicle crosses, then that tag transmit the information and then your auto tolling is done, right? So in that case, the tag which is placed in your vehicle is functioning passively. There is no battery requirement. You need not to care about charging your tag again and again, or replacing the battery or do something, right? So what is happening? It is collecting the power from the transmitter itself, functioning it and transmitting the data back. So it is working passively. So it is relaxing the need for the battery. So even for very small devices, you can get rid of the need of the battery, right? They should be self-powered, obviously. So energy harvesting capability like wireless power transmission, which is essentially required. So once we know the requirement for the WPT, what kind of system you are going to implement for the WPT thing. So in general, the WPT techniques can be of the two types. One is the ambient energy harvesting. So what is the meaning of ambient energy harvesting? So here you can see in the bottom figure, ambient energy harvesting means what? That you are not going to place any energy transmitter. So you are going to utilize only the radiation which is thrown by the unknown transmitters in your surrounding. It is something like having a shower in a rain. So the rain, you are not implanting the rain, right? The water is coming from the cloud, which is automatic process is coming, and now you are having shower, right? Maybe you are not going to be that much happy with that shower in the rain, because that may not be sufficient for us, right? Sufficient, it may be not giving you a proper, you can say, bath. However, this is one of the idea to have a ambient energy harvesting, right? So, and the another is the dedicated wireless power source you can put, and that comes under the category of energy shower. So rather than relying on the ambient transmitter present or surrounding to you, or right, you may implant one RF shower, a dedicated shower, which is transmitting the power to the IoT devices whenever they require, right? So there are two different categories. So here, when you are placing the RF shower, this is same as having a shower in your bathroom, where you are able to control the flow of the water, and you are really very happy after taking the bath, because you can control the flow of the water, and you can control in a way which is sufficient for you, right? However, in the ambient energy harvesting, it may not be sufficient. It may not provide the sufficient energy for functioning of the device. So these are the two different cases. So in the ambient energy harvesting, what is happening? There is no transmitter. So the focus of the research is to design a better and better energy harvester antenna. So at the receiver side, you need to work, and those receiver, right, has to be designed from the antenna perspective. What does it mean? Antenna sees these radiation as coming from anywhere. So the radiation can come from any direction. So what kind of antenna requirements can be there? So this energy harvesting antenna should be omnidirectional, first of all, because we don't know from where the energy can come. So we need to design the antenna as a omnidirectional. It should be wideband, because we don't know what is the frequency band of the transmitter which is existing Yeah, or even if we know, then it is random. So we need to cover as high bandwidth as possible to capture as much energy as possible, right? It should be dual polarized because the polarization of the received wave we don't know. It may be horizontal or vertical. Okay, so these sort of requirements which are there for the energy harvester antenna, right? So that is the case for ambient energy harvesting. Okay, and for the dedicated power transmission, like in energy shower, the receiver design has a different requirements. Why it is that? Because now we know that in which place the energy shower is. So rather than designing the antenna which is omnidirectional here, we can design the antenna which are directional, which can collect the energy from the RF source, which is already defined as high as possible, right? So that is the case. This obviously this can improve the power delivery. So the power you are able to harvest in ambient may not be sufficient, but for the dedicated source, you are able to control the power delivery and you can actually cater the actual need for the power delivery, right? Okay, so these are the two different energy harvesting techniques we can think of. Now let us see go into the more details of WPT transfer system. Okay, so for the in the WPT transfer system, what is happening? There is a transmitting device with a transmitting antenna, and then there is a receiving device or a load with a receiving antenna, and then there is a coupling which is happening between the two antenna types, and that coupling is going to transfer the energy from the transmitter to the receiver. So that is the same as the wireless data transmitting system. However, the requirements may not be that much stringent, right, for the power delivery. So the transfer of power wirelessly between a transmitter and receiver device, that is defined as a WPT. There are three different kinds of techniques we use for the wireless power transmission based on the range. So range means what? The distance between the transmitter and the receiver. So if the transmitter and the receiver, they are very closely placed, they are placed in the vicinity of each other. In that case, it is called as a short range WPT. And the technique to be used for the WPT, efficient WPT application is inductive coupling, right? And if the distance is very far from each other, so transmitter and the receiver, they are lying in the very far from ear other, then it becomes a long range WPT application. And the technique to be utilized for that transmission is electromagnetic radiation. It is same as the far field antenna types which we are using in legacy communication system, right? And the third one is the mid-range communication, the mid-range WPT system, where transmitter receiver, they lie in almost like a middle of the range of short range and the long range and or mediocre range. And the technique we can utilize for WPT is the magnetic resonant coupling. What we can see here, that the first technique, inductive coupling, and the magnetic resonant coupling, both the techniques, if we target short range as well as mid range WPT transmission system, then in both the techniques, magnetic coupling is being used. That means the antenna, transmitting antenna and the receiver antenna, they both are magnetically coupled, right? So what we can see here, that based on the requirement of the range, it is affecting the selection of the antenna types. So what is the kind of antenna which are best suitable when you talk about a magnetic coupling power transmission, right? So, and it is a near field application because they are lying in the very close to each other. So the coil antennas are the preferred choice, because the coil antennas, they have very strong component of the magnetic field oscillating or magnetic field distribution around its physical dimension, and that can be efficiently coupled with the receiver, like it is being shown in the figure in the bottom of the slide, where you can say there is a transmitter. Okay, this transmitting coil is being excited with the particular, you can say, sinusoidal signal, and this transmitter is generating a magnetic field which is oscillating with time and also distributed in space. So what is happening? There is a receiver coil which is going to capture that magnetic field, and because of electromagnetic induction principle, there is induced voltage that will be developed in the receiving coil, and that induced voltage can feed your you can say any load which is available at the receiver side or any IoT device. Like here in this case, it is written as an implanted device. Okay, so this is the case for the near field wireless power transmission system. Mostly they are working in the magnetic coupling principle, and in magnetic coupling principle, coil antennas are the most preferred choice. as an antenna types, right? Now let us have a look at the near field WPT applications. So these are some pictures to motivate the audience to visualize the need for the near field WPT applications. Like if you want to charge your you can say tablet or mobile phone, there may be a transmitter which is placed on the table, and that is going to couple the energy from the transmitter to the mobile device to wirelessly transfer wirelessly charge the mobile phones, or maybe some you can say other devices which can be wirelessly charged by placing them in this bowl shape antenna, you can say. So this is a bowl shape antenna which is designed to transfer the wireless energy to these devices, including the wearable devices like a smartwatch or a smart gaming remote, something like that. So these are the wireless charging platforms, right? You can think of the other application in the medical domain like a smart mattress, patient mattress, where the patient is implanted with many you can say monitoring devices inside the body. But to function, we have a smart mattress that can power up these implanted devices. So there is an energy coupling between the transmitter and the receiver, and the energy is being transmitted, power is transmitted to this implanted device here, right? Then we can have a smart arena that I already explained. You can have a smart uh, capsule endoscopy, wireless capsule endoscopy, where this capsule can be functioning with the power source which is placed outside the body. For example, here this pacemaker which is being powered by a device, and this power is being transmitted from outside the body, right? Some coil antenna is being placed outside the body, and that is generating or transmitting the power to the another coil which is called as a pickup coil at the receiver side to transfer the power, right? So these are the applications of the power transmission in the near field zone. Now you can ask the question that if these are the application, including wireless charging of the electric vehicle, right? So if you want to, so the electric vehicle, which is a very you can say focus area right now in India also. But the problem here is the charging of the electric vehicle. So one can device one charging wireless charging pad to wirelessly transfer the power to the vehicle battery. Okay, or your mobile phone that can be placed, let's say, in the cup holder of your vehicle, let's say, or your sofa, where the moment you place your mobile phone, it start charging. Or you can say smart charging bowl that I've already talked about, or there can be a smart charging pad also already existing in the market, where you can place your smartphone for charging, a smart charging bowl again, or a smart charging cup for the wearable devices. Okay, so these sort of application you can think of are very important in the near field. But the most important point here is that do you want you yourself to be guided, or the user wants to be guided to place their devices in a certain fashion? For example, let's say this vehicle, if you park that vehicle away from this transmitter, what is going to happen? Obviously, this car is not going to be charged. So the transfer of power will only occur when you park your vehicle as a designated place, just above this transmitting pad. Similarly, if you place this mobile phone, let's say, not on the pad, but just beside the pad, okay, not on the pad, but beside the pad, in that case, also the mobile will not get charged. Or you place these devices in a certain fashion or certain orientation, then maybe your devices will not get charged. So these sort of you can say placement of the devices, right? Placement of the devices are restricted. Means users are restricted to place their mobile devices to be charged in a certain fashion, right? And that is called the misalignment problem, right? So we definitely want to place the devices freely in the charging box. So your users, they do not want to be guided. What they want is, if they want to charge their devices, including electric vehicle, anything, whenever, wherever, in whatever way they want to place it, they should be free. They do not want to be guided. Okay. So in that case, what is happening? If they place it anywhere in the surrounding of the transmitter, then the receiver and the transmitters are not aligned. If they are not aligned, then misalignment happens. And because of misalignment, the wireless power transmission will not occur, or it will degrade, right? So that is the problem, is called as a misalignment problem. Let us go deeper into understanding of the misalignments which are existing in the NF-WPT applications, right? So these systems are designed by presuming a perfect alignment of the transmitter and the receiver coil. For instance, in the bottom figure left side, you can see there is a transmitter coil in the bottom, and then there is a receiver coil, right? So what we can say, delta is a misalignment. If the delta is 0, then the transmitter and the receiver are perfectly aligned. Means the antenna engineers, when they are going to design the power WPT, NF-WPT transmitter antenna, then they are already assuming that this transmitter and the receiver are in perfect alignment. Means delta is going to be 0 in this case. Similarly, they also assume in the second figure, phi is 0. That means the receiver is coplanar. So what we can see, the transmitter and the receiver, they are coaxial when there is no misalignment in the lateral domain. And the phi is 0 means the angular misalignment is also 0, means receiver and the transmitter are coplanar. Means they are coaxial as well as coplanar. That is the presumption before going for the designing, right? But what is happening in the practical situation when the user are going to place their the devices, then there is no guarantee because of the motion of the bodies or the misplacement of the receiver. So this particular alignment is not guaranteed, right? In addition, what is happening is for certain applications like tracking, tracing using RFID, or wireless capsule endoscopy, or wireless charging of mobile devices, where a free movement of the receiver is necessary even. So in some application, users are placing their devices unintentionally, right? There the misalignment may happen. But in some other application where these sort of movements or misalignments are required, otherwise the function will not be done. For instance, in wireless endoscopy capsule, the capsule will be swallowed by the patient, then capsule will travel throughout the body, then only the work will be done, right? So these sort of movements, they will cause the misalignment, and that is the essentially required movements, right? So the free movements, they are not necessary. Free movements are required in those particular applications. So misalignment of the receiver with respect to the transmitter is very, very likely, right? We cannot neglect that fact. So because of these misalignment, there are two kinds of misalignment, lateral and angular, that we are going to see. These problems, they persist in the WPT NF application, and they degrade the wireless power transfer performance. Okay, so here in the first figure, this particular kind of misalignment is called as a lateral misalignment, where the receiver and the transmitter, they are still coplanar, but the receiver tries to move, right, laterally along its along this x-axis, let's say. And in the second figure, when the receiver tries to move in a circular fashion, it tries to rotate, but its position remains the same, right? So transmitter and the receiver origins, they remains the same, the center remains the same, but the receiver tries to rotate. In that case also, the this causes the misalignment, and which is called as the angular misalignment. All right. So what is the root cause of the problem? So we already mentioned that because of this misalignment, power transfer will degrade. So whatever the intended power transfer that has to be achieved, that will not be achieved once there is a misalignment. But we need to understand from engineering point of view that what is the root cause of that particular problem. Because the moment we understand the root cause, we can mitigate that cause. We can design a good antenna system that can mitigate those particular cause of the misalignment, right? So let us try to understand that. Okay, so we can see this problem, root cause of the problem, in terms of coil antenna field distribution. So to understand that, we need to understand or see the field distribution generated by the coil antenna. So let us see one example here. So here in the right top corner of the slide, this diagram shows that there is a transmitter coil which is placed at the origin of the coordinate system. So it is placed in the XY plane. And then there is a receiver which is placed at a d distance above this transmitter. So let us assume this particular scenario where the receiver is completely aligned with the transmitter. Aligned means their origins, their centers are lying, their centers are collinear. They are lying on the z-axis. Also, the receiver is not rotated. It is coplanar with the transmitter. In that situation, what is going to happen? That the field that is going to be generated by the transmitter will be coupled with this receiver, and then that will produce the induced EMF. We can see the H field at the receiver location, it induces the voltage in the receiver coil. So whatever the magnetic field that will be generated by the transmitter at this particular location of the receiver, that is going to cause the induced voltage, right? And we know that the equation for the induced voltage is mu naught J omega NRX AR dot H. What is ARX? ARX is the area vector of the receiver. Okay, so that is in the direction of Z right now when the receiver is completely aligned. And the H is what? H is the total magnetic field that is generated by this transmitter at the receiver location. So H dot AR. Now we know AR is in the direction of Z, and H will have three components: HX, HY, and HZ. From this figure we can see. But if you are taking a dot product, what does it mean? That only HZ will come out of the dot product. So out of these three components, HX, HY, and HZ, only HZ component or vertical component that is going to induce the EMF in the receiver coil, right? So if this transmitter is going to generate all the three components, HX, HY, and HZ, at this receiver location, then only HZ field is going to be utilized in the power transmission, because HX and HY, they are perpendicular to the area vector and they are not going to induce any EMF, right? So that's how we are understanding the principle of the power transmission in the magnetically coupled system. Now let us look at the field distribution that is generated by this transmitting coil. Because the field is the essential quantity, the actual quantity that is generating the power in the receiver. So field is most important, right? So once the field is most important, then let us see what is the field distribution. So if this transmitter, let's say, is carrying a uniform current density, it is carrying a uniform current density because we assume that this transmitter is electrically small. The moment you do that, then you can visualize the field distribution that is available in Z equal to D plane. What is the Z equal to D plane? This is the plane which is lying at the receiver location. It is a plane parallel to XY, right? Z equal to D plane. So we can call this plane as a receiver plane. Why we are calling it as a receiver plane? Because the receiver will only move in this plane only, right? That is called the lateral misalignment. When the receiver tries to move, let's say, along X or Y direction, then it will be laterally misaligned. Or the receiver may try to rotate at this position only, then we call it as an angular misalignment. So we can see that the RX plane is Z equal to D. And if we are able to visualize this field pattern here, right, if we are able to visualize, then we can see the root cause of this problem, right? So here at the bottom of this slide, we can see the field distribution generated by this transmitting coil at the receiver position. So one by one, we can see the figure. So in the first figure here, you can see this black circle is a transmitting coil, and that is generating this field distribution shown in the color coding, right? Where blue is the lowest field. Here you can see the scale in dB. Blue is the lowest one, and the red is the highest field, right? So, and the receiver is in the middle. This is the target receiver area. What we can see, this is the figure for HX distribution, right? HX component that is generated by the transmitter. Second figure is the HY component generated by the transmitter. And the third is the HZ component that this transmitter is generating, right? What we can see that the distributions are different. So when you see the HX distribution in the target receiver area, there is no field component. So HX field is 0. There's no field generated by the transmitter having the HX component. Similarly, the HY component is also 0 in the receiver target area. Whereas if you see the HZ component, the transmitter is generating a good amount of the field in the Z direction. And that is required. Why it is required? Because your receiver is aligned with the Z direction. Its area is aligned with the Z direction. X and Y component, they are not going to induce any EMF. Only Z component is going to induce the EMF. And this transmitter is generating a good amount of the Z component, and that was the assumption and a good design. We can call this as a good design because the presumption was that the receiver is completely aligned. So in the completely aligned position, this is the case. Now assume that this receiver now moves along Y direction. Now if it tries to move along Y direction, what is going to happen? The HZ field is going to induce the EMF. Here the HZ field, but now the receiver is going to move away from the center. Then we can easily see that the field density is going to reduce. It is reducing. You can say it is going from 0 dBm to -20 dBm. So what we can see that the moment Hz is going to reduce, the ultimately induced voltage is going to reduce, means power transfer efficiency is going to reduce, right? So the moment there is a lateral misalignment, because of the non-uniform field distribution of the magnetic field, the power transmission will be reducing. Similarly, if you can say that because we know that the Hx and Hy components are 0, then what happens? Let's say this receiver is now rotated and it is aligned along y direction, right? So area vector of the receiver is now along y direction. So it has 90-degree rotated. In that case, the y component of the magnetic field is going to induce the EMF. Hx and Hz component will not induce the EMF, right? Only y component will induce the EMF, but there is no y component. So this transmitter is not generating y component, which is required when the receiver is going to rotate. So that means it will cause the angular misalignment. So this antenna may be good for the perfectly aligned receiver, but that is going to cause misalignment problem for the both the cases, lateral misalignment as well as angular misalignment, right? So there are solutions which are existing in the previous works, in the previous literature. So these solutions, what they say for the lateral misalignment, so they are proposing mechanical kind of solutions. For instance, if there is a receiver which is placed in the cage, and then there is a transmitter which is placed on this rail of a robotic system, then if the receiver tries to move, let's say laterally, then equivalently they move their transmitter, right, to realign the receiver with the transmitter again. So this mechanical system is an interesting, you can say, design. However, as we know very well that this mechanical system may be not cost effective because it may require frequent servicing and all. So better is to seek for the solution which is all completely electrical kind, right? Okay. So in the second one, we can say there is a array of the transmitter is being used. So this is the transmitting array. So wherever the receiver, let's say this is the small receiver which is placed under one of the coil, then the power transmission is going to happen with this particular transmitting coil. But the moment the receiver going to change its, you can say, alignment laterally, it is going to move laterally, then other coils will going to charge this receiver, right? So these sort of array systems are also welcome using the spiral coil. So spiral coil solutions are also existing. Then there can be multi-coil solution. They are existing where the multiple coils are being placed to charge the multiple receiver coils simultaneously, or coil arrays are also utilized before in the prior work to compact the effect of the lateral misalignment. So all these works are related to previously lateral misalignment. However, we can say that all these works, they may address the lateral misalignment, but they are unable to address the angular misalignment, right? So angular misalignment problem is the more, you can say, difficult problem to be addressed. Now let us see. So we have divided the problem, misalignment problem, into the two. One can be the lateral misalignment, other is the angular misalignment. And here is this slide shows you or gives you a better understanding of the cause of the misalignment problem, and also provides you a certain solution or the requirement for the solution of the misalignment problem. So here we can see in the lateral misalignment problem, if this is the transmitting coil, if this is the receiving coil, the field distribution is going to be generated by the transmitter, and it is going to link the magnetic flux with the receiver to the completely aligned receiver coil. So as soon as the receiver is completely aligned, there is no problem. But the moment the receiver is going to be misaligned laterally, now it is going to move, let's say, in the right side, then what is going to happen? The field which is generated by the transmitter is not available anymore, right? So field is concentrated in the center, which is not available anymore when the receiver is misaligned. Okay, so the power transfer is going to be reduced. Okay, so what is the solution? What you can think of as a solution to this problem? So what we can think that a new transmitter antenna is to be designed that can provide what? So what it has to provide? It has to provide a uniform magnetic field distribution. Why uniform magnetic field distribution? Because whatever the field which is being captured by a aligned receiver coil, the same field must be captured by the laterally misaligned coil. Means the moment receiver tries to move, then the field distribution, if it is uniform, then you do not have the change in the induced voltage because the field is not going to change. It is uniform. So what we can say, a wide spread uniformity in the magnetic field, especially in HZ component, vertical field only. Vertical field wide uniformity is the targeted. You can say target to compact the effect of the lateral misalignment. Okay, so widespread uniform H field distribution is adopted in the literature as a solution to mitigate lateral misalignment. Visually, we can see this is the widespread uniformity. Here you can see when the receiver tries to move in delta x and delta y direction. So this is the, you can say, displacement of the receiver in the x or y direction. So this figure shows there is a uniformity in the magnetic field Z component which is being generated. Okay, so that is the target in the literature. Literature was the target like that to bring out the uniformity as high as possible to combat the effect of the lateral misalignment in the HZ component. Similarly, in the angular misalignment, there is a transmitter and then there is an aligned receiver. Then the life is fine. There is no problem, right? But the moment angular misalignment happens, so this receiver is now rotated in 90 degree. Now the degree is 90 degree. Then what is happening? Then the transmitter, which is to be designed, a new transmitter to be designed, what is its job? So conventional antenna, it doesn't have the HY component, because we have seen already that the only HY component can induce the EMF in the angular misalignment receiver. But conventional antenna is not able to generate the HY component. So we require a new antenna structure that is able to generate the lateral field components, right? Along with the vertical components. Only then the angular misalignment problem will be solved. So keynote from this angular misalignment problem is generation of orthogonal H field components are necessary and required as a solution to mitigate angular misalignment problem, right? So as a summary, what we can say, if you want to mitigate lateral misalignment problem, then you require a widespread uniform vertical component of the magnetic field. And if you want to mitigate angular misalignment problem, then along with the vertical component, you need to generate lateral magnetic field components, right? That is the case. But conventionally, lateral components are not generated. Horizontal components of the magnetic fields are not generated. All right, so let us see the solutions which are developed in our lab for this particular scenario of lateral misalignment. So we have used magnetic field forming technique. So here in this case, after this slide, we are also introducing to the audience that what is the field forming techniques. So in the field forming technique, multiple spatially distributed coils are used. So rather than using a single coil as in the traditional system, we are going to utilize multiple spatially distributed coil. And then we are utilizing constructive and destructive addition of the individual H field components for magnetic field forming, right? So these are the concepts that is being utilized for magnetic field forming. And let us see the solution which we have developed. So we have proposed one solution for EV charging application, where rather than having a planar transmitter coil here in conventional design, we have proposed a trapezoidal shape of the transmitter. So what the trapezoidal shape transmitter does, that if you just imagine here, the coil 1 and 2 and 3, these are the integral part of the transmitter, where the coil 2 is going to generate the field as the traditional antenna is generating, right? However, the coil 1 and 2 are tilted, somewhat tilted and coils, and these the tilt which we are providing, that is going to widespread the magnetic field. That is the target in the to mitigate the lateral misalignment. We need to generate widespread magnetic field. So by tilting the coil 1 and 3, we are able to generate the much more wider spreaded vertical field components, and that is reducing the misalignment problem. So here you can see in the result, we are showing the magnetic field component, HZ component, and the induced voltage. So HZ component, as you can see, it is elongated along X direction. So it is more wider in the X direction. So induced voltage is also, you can say, wider, having the wider uniformity along X direction. So what we can conclude here, that we are able to mitigate the misalignment of certain degree along X direction. That was the target, and we have achieved through that. Okay, so so the result also, they indicate that the misalignment has been improved by 93% compared to the conventional structure. Other solution that we have developed here is is a booster switchable multiple coil antenna, whose figure is shown here. So let me try to give you certain idea that from where this design is evolved. So what we target is, we target to design a transmitting coil antenna that can generate wide uniform magnetic field. That was the target. So that aligned receiver coil, how much magnetic field it is capturing, the same magnetic field is being captured by the lateral misalignment coil. So what we can see is, here, if you want to design that widespread uniformity, we have another problem. What is that another problem? We are unnecessarily wasting the flux. When the receiver is in the perfectly aligned receive position, then this flux which we are generating, it is useless, because this will be used only when the receiver is misaligned. And when the receiver is misaligned, then the flux which we are generating here, that will be useless, right? So what we can see, we have proposed a switched multi-coil antenna where this red coil will be excited when the receiver is perfectly aligned, and then we are going to switch on the border coil or the booster coils which are existing at the border of the transmitting antenna, right? So when the misalignment is going to happen, then we are going to excite the border coil such that we are able to save the flux, and that is also going to mitigate the lateral misalignment. We can see from the results we have analyzed that we have two kinds of magnetic field we are generating. When the receiver is perfectly aligned, we are kind of generating more concentrated field because the receiver is perfectly aligned. And when the receiver tries to move away, then we are able to generate more uniform and widespread magnetic field. Okay, and that improve the uniformity in the power transfer efficiency by 255% over the conventional design present in the literature, right? Then other solution that we have proposed, that was we have seen in the previous slide that to combat the effect of the lateral misalignment, what we target is to form the widespread uniform magnetic field. But through analysis, rigorous analysis and mathematical modeling, what we have found that the uniform field distribution may not be the optimal choice. So what is the most optimal and best choice to combat the lateral misalignment? That is forming a non-uniform magnetic field, right? So rather than forming or targeting to form uniform magnetic field distribution, we have proposed to target non-uniform magnetic field, and we have shown that that is the best and better approach compared to the uniform target. So in the non-uniform targeted field, what we have to do is, rather than uniform field distribution, we generate non-uniform field distribution. So like a conceptual figure which is shown in the top, the figure number A, which is shown here. In that, we can see there are bricks which are expanded bricks in vertical, which are shown here. And those bricks represent the magnetic field distribution. So rather than uniformity in the field, we are generating non-uniform field distribution, some sort of like concentrated field distribution we are generating. That we can see from the result also. Here we have generated in the figure number A result, we have generated non-uniform field distribution which are having 4 different peaks. So we are concentrating magnetic field at 4 different locations. Similarly, in figure number B, we can see that we have generated magnetic field with 9 different peaks. So we are concentrating the magnetic field at 9 different locations. And how we are generating? Using these 2 structures which are shown in the right top corner of the slide. Structure number A, that is going to generate 4 concentrated beams, whereas structure number 2B, that is going to generate 9 concentrated beams. And what we have found that even if we concentrate the beam, the misalignment is still mitigated. So that was mathematically modeled and shown here. And what we have proved that compared to the same literature design, we are able to improve the lateral misalignment by 688%, right? In terms of the direction in space. Here we have also provided the experimental results, right? Using a robotic setup to scan the magnetic field distribution. Now let us talk about the some solutions which we have developed to address the angular misalignment problem. Again, we are using the magnetic field forming technique for the same. Okay, as I have defined, the magnetic field forming is using multiple spatially distributed transmitting coil and their combination of the field with constructive and destructive interference, we are able to achieve certain specification, right? So, okay, so before that, let us remind you let me remind you that the problem, to address this problem, we have to generate orthogonal field, right? So we had a note in this slide that generation of orthogonal H field components are required as a solution to mitigate angular misalignment problem. So we need to generate 3 orthogonal component Hx, Hy, Hz at the receiver location. Only then the angular misalignment problem will be mitigated, right? Okay, so here is the case. You can see there is a transmitter, then the receiver is now rotated. Once the receiver is rotating, to compensate its rotation, we require Hx and Hy field. And how can we do that? So there is another technique called as a receiver coil design. So in that technique, in the literature, they use a 3D receiver antenna. You can see in the pic in the right bottom, there is a 3D receiver antenna rather people have designed. So working on, rather than redesigning the transmitter, they have redesigned the receiver. So this receiver is being redesigned. What they are doing in this, they are, rather than placing a single coil, they are going to place 3 orthogonal coils. Why 3 orthogonal coils? Because the 3 orthogonal coils can capture 3 different field distributions, Hx and Hy and Hz. Okay, that is the kind of solution that is proposed in the literature. However, the point here is, as we have seen already, that this transmitter is not going to generate Hx and Hy. So when the field, lateral field is not there, horizontal field components are not present, then this coil is almost useless, right? So the orthogonal coils, they are not able to capture any field because the field is not present. So rather than working at the receiver, we need to work at the transmitter side. One point is that. Another point is, by doing this 3D receiver antenna system design, we are forcing the receiver to be non-planar. Usually the planar structures are favored. Okay, from its cost effectiveness and size limitations, these antennas, the receiver antenna should be as small as possible, as well as planar. If you make it 3D, then it is more discomfort to the users or devices. So better is to have the planar design. So given that you cannot adopt the 3D receiver antenna, so if we reject that, what choice we have? The choice is to have the transmitter coil design as an effective way, right, to generate the 3 orthogonal field component. And using magnetic field forming technique, we are able to generate 3 magnetic field components here. Okay. All right. And let us see some previous works which people have designed to generate the 3 orthogonal components of the magnetic field. So they have also used the magnetic field forming technique. However, they have used 3-dimensional transmitter structure. So now their transmitter is now 3-dimensional. So you can imagine here there is a cubical transmitter where at each face of the cube, one coil has been placed. So you can imagine the coil which are placed in the plane of this slide, they are going to generate, right, the field which is directed into the plane of the slide, or you can say generating horizontal fields. And the coil which is placed in the side face of the cube, that is generate the Y field, right? And the coil which is placed at the bottom of this cube will generate the vertical field. So they are able to generate at the center of the cube, they are able to generate 3 orthogonal field component, Hx, Hy, Hz. But the important point here is they are using the 3-dimensional transmitter antenna. Similarly, there is another transmitter antenna cross loop design that people have designed to generate the 2 orthogonal field components in the horizontal direction, right? So this design can generate Hx and Hy component. However, it cannot generate Hz component. Okay, it is a cross loop antenna design. Similarly, you have an orthogonal L coil antenna design where the coil number A, transmitting coil A, can generate vertical field. Transmitter coil B can generate horizontal field. But there is another component that is not generated, which is the component coming out of the plane of this slide. Okay, that is the problem. Also, this transmitter structure is a 3-dimension. Similarly, a bowl shape antenna is also designed where at the bottom of the bowl there is a coil antenna which is placed to generate the vertical magnetic field component, and at this side inclined surface of the bowl, the coil is placed to generate the lateral field component. Okay. However, the antenna is 3-dimensional. So some of them are not able to form all the 3 orthogonal components. That is the problem. And other than that, most of the transmitting antenna, they are 3-dimensional. They are 3D designs. But as we know that 3D designs are not that much cost effective and are not preferred choice. So what we have done is we have proposed a planar design of the transmitting antenna, which is preferred from simplicity, cost effectiveness, and reliability point of view. And that can generate 3 orthogonal components of the magnetic field. All right. So benefits are it can power up the planar receiver in almost all the orientations. So I'm writing a keyword here, almost. I will explain why almost all the orientation I'm writing. It provides the opportunity to exploit full potential of existing 3D receiver coil. So when you place this transmitter, and if you still utilize the 3D receiver coil, that is even more beneficial. Okay. So this was the proposed analytical model, right, of the structure. So here we have proposed to utilize 6 different coil. You can see in the figure. So coil number 1, which is the largest one, whose center is coinciding with the origin, and that is going to generate the HZ field component. Okay, so this the plane of this coil is X and Y. You can see X and Y is the plane of this coil antenna, and this is it is a planar design. It is lying in the XY plane. Okay, and the coil number 1 will generate the HZ field. HZ means out of the paper, the direction in out of the paper. In that direction, this coil will generate the field. Similarly, coil number 2, that is another coil that is going to generate again the HZ field. It is used for the tuning purpose. Then you have 2 different coils, coil 3 and coil 4, that are slightly located away from the origin, right? We can see they are displaced from the origin, and these coils are responsible to generate X component of the field at the center of this structure, right? Similarly, the coil number 5 and 6, they are placed in an optimal fashion to generate the Y component of the field. So this structure was a novel structure proposed, and this was rigorously analytically modeled and optimized. And after optimizing, so each coil has the dimension given by its radius, and its location given by the coordinate of its center, as well as the current which is flowing inside each coil is defined. And after optimization, this is the data which we have analyzed, and we have shown that this is the optimal data for the design, right? So their locations have been optimized, their radius has been optimized. Also, they carry the different currents, and the phase which is flowing in, with the current is also different. All right. Now the point is there are 6 number of coils in the design, but this actually gives you the complexity compared to the conventional design, because the conventional design was only having single port of feeding. However, this structure seems like it will be using 6 number of ports. So the complexity of feeding network is a big challenge if you see the design analytically. However, we have reduced the complexity also by proposing a new, you can say a good PCB layout scheme, where we have connected these structures or these coils in series in such a way that their amplitude of the current and the phase is still following whatever the optimal design gives, but the number of ports have been reduced to 2. So rather than using number of ports 6 in analytical model, we are proposing to use only 2 number of ports, and then we are achieving these current and the phase profile of each of the coil. So here is the photo of the front and the bottom of the PCB, and this structure is going to generate HX, robust HX and HY components in the receiver area. Here is the evolution of the design. I will skip because of the time limit. I will skip this evolution. Just take it from me. That's the different coil structures. They are generating different field distributions in the receiver plane, and we have judiciously combined this field in a constructive and destructive way to bring out a useful field distribution. So what is the targeted useful distribution? It is the last one. In the last field distribution, you can easily see. So we can compare this figure with the initial figure. I will just go back and showcase the initial figure that we have started with. This was the initial figure of the conventional antenna. So if you consider only single transmitting coil conventional antenna, then the field distribution show that there is no HX component in the center. there is no HY component in the center, but there is good HZ component in the center. Now, if you compare it with what has been achieved to mitigate the angular misalignment, then we can readily see here that our design is able to generate HX component as well as HY component, and also the HZ component is being generated, right? So there is a one coil missing here, but after you plug that in one coil, then all the three components are strong in the center. Okay, so these are the analytically modeled results, and then we have verified these results with the simulation. So simulated field distributions are almost identical to what has been obtained by analysis, and we can easily see that this scheme is going to work to address the angular misalignment. Now let us see what is the limitation of this design. All right, so limitation is that what we have found that this particular design, it is able to generate the HX, HY, HZ component, that is good. However, the combination of these field, because there is going to be a vector summation of the three field component, so that a total vector is going to be formed at the receiver location. And now we need to talk about what is the polarization of that vector. So polarization of that vector, we have found it is a 2D polarized. Okay, so what is the problem in the 2D polarization? So let us see. So there exists a direction in XY plane in which the planar receiver coil could not have any induced voltage. Why it is that? Because if the polarization is two-dimensional, then you can imagine, let's say we consider this is the two-dimensional polarization between the X and Y component, circular polarization in the center figure. So what happened when the receiver is actually parallel to this plane? So when the receiver area is perpendicular to this plane, then it is not going to collect any field, because field is only having X and Y direction, right? So what we can see, if the magnetic field is having two-dimensional polarization, 2D polarization, then the receiver area vector, when it is perpendicular to that polarization plane, then again the receiver is not going to collect any power. That is the big problem. And that's why I told you that the previous design was actually able to mitigate the angular misalignment in almost all the orientation. So I was putting the keyword almost, means it is not mitigating in all the three-dimensional plane, right? So we can see here, if you consider only a linear polarization of the field generated at the receiver, or a circular polarization of the field generated at the receiver, or an elliptical polarization, the corresponding variation in the induced voltage is shown in the bottom figure. Okay, so for linear, we can see there is a huge variation in the induced voltage. Okay, let me explain you what is this figure. So in the x-axis, you can say there is a theta, and then the y-axis, there is a phi. So theta is the theta orientation of the receiver, and phi is the phi orientation of the receiver. So it is related to the orientation of the receiver. So as the receiver tries to rotate, the induced voltage is going to vary, and that is called as angular misalignment. So the angular misalignment is usually present in the linear polarization. Similarly, if you consider circular polarization, then here in figure number B bottom, you can see the induced voltage is constant when you move along phi direction. So circular polarization is able to mitigate the misalignment in phi direction, whereas when you move in theta direction, right, the voltage is going to vary again. That means this, even the circular polarization is not able to mitigate the angular misalignment problem. And if you consider elliptical polarization, the case is same. Again, you get a lot of fluctuation in the voltage. So 2D polarization till now people have utilized, and this is not giving you 100% solution to mitigate the angular misalignment. So what is our motivation is to investigate further the field forming approach to form 3D polarized magnetic field, right? That is the motivation. And to generate the 3D polarized magnetic field, this is the structure we have utilized. So we utilize the transmitter as shown in the inset figure in the bottom of the slide. There are three orthogonal transmitting coils which are placed, right? One is positioned horizontally like this. Others two are orthogonally placed to each other vertically. And these three are generating three different components in the center, X, Y, and Z component. So obviously the horizontal coil will generate vertical component, and other two transmitting coil will generate horizontal components. So together they will generate three orthogonal components. But what we are doing is we are feeding these three different coils individually. So previously it was feed together. That's why we were getting linear polarization or circular polarization. Now we have three different ports to feed these coils. So once you feed them with these three different current, X, Y, and Z, these are the current flowing in three different coils, transmitting coils. If you feed them with amplitude modulated wave, right? So this is the amplitude modulated signal with which we are feeding these three different coils. Then what we have observed is you can generate different kinds of three-dimensional polarizations of the magnetic field. So here is the example that to generate drum-shaped figure, this is the condition on the current and phase values. And drum-shaped polarization will look like the figure number A in the bottom of the slide. And if you want to generate spherical shaped 3D polarization, right, then these are the condition. Amplitude should be same, m parameter of the AM wave should be 1, and so on. And the photo or the figure showcasing the 3D polarized magnetic field is shown in the B part. And then if you want to generate any other ellipsoidal shaped polarization, it is not elliptical polarization, it is ellipsoidal, three-dimensional polarization. Okay, then the condition is the current should be unequal, M should be equal 1, and the phase profile should be pi by 2. Okay, so using that we can generate the 3D polarized field distribution. Now what we have done is we have found out what is the induced RMS induced voltage in the receiver. Analytically we have found out. So equation number 5 represent that analytically modeled induced voltage equation. And using that, if we apply this equation and see that how much is the variation in the induced voltage when the receiver rotates in theta and phi direction, right? Then we can see the drum shaped, spherical, and elliptical, their induced voltage is like that. So what we can see, drum shaped elliptical drum shaped 3D polarization is still not mitigating the angular misalignment. It is bad. Spherical is again not mitigating completely. Ellipsoidal, it is somehow mitigating, but there is a variation. So what we can see, the angular misalignment problem is getting reduced, not mitigated completely, but it is reduced by the ellipsoidal polarization. So what we have thought is to have an optimal ellipsoidal polarization. Okay, so this slide I have shown. So we have proposed analytically that there exists an optimized ellipsoidal polarization whose figure is shown here, where condition is that the field components are √2 times of each other, right? That will actually reduce further and minimize the variation in the voltage. So we can see the voltage variation is very, very minimized here. So the data also shows in table number 1, if you compare the different 3D polarizations, drum shaped, spherical, ellipsoidal, which is not optimized, then ellipsoidal optimized, then we can see the variance of the induced voltage when the receiver tries to rotate is minimum. It is minimized by the ellipsoidal polarization, right? And also, so we can conclude from the result that we are able to generate 3 orthogonal components of the field in the receiver area. And the variation is also optimized and minimized if you are going to use the optimized ellipsoidal 3D polarization. Okay. To verify our claim, we have simulated it using ANSYS Simplora. And what we have found, if you compare we have compared it with this spherical polarization with proposed optimal ellipsoidal, we can see the variation is minimized in the proposed one, whereas the black curve shows the spherical polarization, which is actually having the higher variation. Okay. Experimentally also, we have verified the claim and we have found the results are corroborated well. For experimentation, we have fed using function generator, we have generated amplitude modulated wave. We have synchronized the function generators and the oscilloscopes to collect the readings. And then we have moved the receiver coil at different orientations and we have collected the data, right? These are the references for all the works that I have shown. Okay, so let me conclude the lecture. So we have learned the misalignment problem, what is it and its cause in WPT near field system. Then we have learned how to design a planar multi-coil antenna to generate 3 orthogonal H-field component because that is our target. Then we have learned the generation of 3D polarization, that may be a new concept that might have learned today by many of you. And then we have applied the 3D polarization to mitigate angular misalignment problem for the near field WPT system, right? So this is the conclusion of the lecture. Thanks for hearing me out. And any queries, please address.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for enlightening us with your knowledge. You have taken the topic from very basics to its research complications, its challenges. So I think you have given a complete overview of the topic to the participants. So now I request my participants to please ask questions if they have any queries. I have given you rights to unmute yourselves or to ask any questions. If you have any questions, you can ask. Yes, Sumanta, do you have any query?
Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Good
Yeah,
afternoon,
you
sir.
are audible.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
In case of the far field harvesting system, is it possible to charge a car battery which is having approximately 50 ampere hour?
Yes, it's a very nice question. It is not possible. And that's why we have to use the near field transmission system, because the near field system, they are utilizing the coil kind of structures and which are having less radiation in the far field. For example, if you try to even use the far field, you can say wireless charging of electric vehicle, because you see the transmitter and the receiver distance is very low, right? If
Right,
it is
sir.
low, then to declare it as a far field, then I think the frequency should be in the millimeters, right? And when it is in
Right.
millimeter, then there is a big problem. So you may be aware of the problems in the millimeter, right? There is a huge attenuation. Your target is to transfer the power, but you are losing the power in the middle, right?
And that much high amount of the current can be accommodated by this by using this harvesting antenna in the receiver end, because 50 milliamps is a huge amount of current is required for charging this 50 milliampere battery. So that much current can be accommodated from harvesting the energy from wirelessly. Wirelessly, that means far field antenna.
No, from far field we cannot. So the far
So
field majorly, yes, far field
how
majorly they are used to power up the small devices only.
and near field antenna, how much maximum current can be obtained in case of the near field antenna?
Yeah, so upper limit is as such not explored yet. You can go as high as possible, because the reason is because these are working in the magnetic field concept, right? So the amount of the current you can feed, how much you can feed actually, what is the upper limit of the current you can feed, that will define how much is the received current there, right? So, but also from the product point of view, if you see, there is a limit on the EMC EMI side, also the induction effect on the biological tissues. So you are not able to actually emit that much of the energy in the space for to give the harmful radiation to the living beings, right? So given that limit, we can impose certain limit, but theoretically, or if you say experimental wise, you can feed to whatever current you want. Only the point here is you have to choose judiciously the material of the transmitting and the receiver coil. So for the high current application, the one you are saying 15 ampere and these all, we usually not prefer PCBs. We use leads wire designs. So there are two kinds of design. One is the
Because
PCB based. Yeah.
because car battery is 50 ampere hour, sir. 12
Right.
12 volt 50 ampere. So to charge a car battery, a huge amount of current is required. So is
Yes.
it
Yes.
possible by using this near field antenna?
Yes. Using leads wire, we are doing that. Leads
Okay,
wire
sir.
antenna, we are doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anyway, I have written in the chat box my email ID. If you find any other question later on, you may also write me an email. Please ask any further questions.
I think, sir, there are no more queries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I must formally thank you. Thank you for accepting our request and coming to this FDP and enlightening us with your knowledge. Sir, before leaving, can we have a group photograph?
Yes, sure. I'll stop
You
presenting
please,
first.
yeah.
Okay, it is already done.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, dear participants.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, sir. Bye.